Hello, my amazing friends. Welcome to your English learning journey.
I learned English in 3 months. I never imagined that in just 3 months, my life could transform so completely. Looking back, it feels almost unreal, like I lived through a dream that somehow became tangible. I was the person who would shy away from speaking, not because I lacked the words, but because I didn't trust myself to speak at all. English, which seemed like a simple tool for many, was for me a wall, cold, unyielding, and impossible to scale. I remember countless days where I sat silently in classrooms, listening to teachers explain the same words and phrases, repeating them over and over, but never feeling confident enough to use them. I would write sentences perfectly on paper, only to stumble over the simplest conversation in real life. Every attempt felt like failure, and every failure fed the fear that maybe I was not capable of learning a language that others seemed to acquire effortlessly. The frustration gnawed at me, and the thought of remaining trapped in my silence was unbearable. I knew something had to change, but I didn't know how. It all began one night when I was scrolling through my phone, feeling the familiar weight of inadequacy pressing on my chest. I stumbled upon videos of people who spoke English fluently, people from around the world, connecting with others, sharing ideas, laughing freely, and making friends across continents. I watched them and felt an unexpected spark inside me. Not envy exactly, but a realization that if they could do it, so could I. That night, I made a silent vow to myself. In 3 months, I would speak English fluently. I wasn't aiming for perfection, I just wanted to be free from the fear that had kept me silent for so long. The thought was terrifying, yet exhilarating. It felt impossible, but sometimes the impossible is the only thing worth chasing. The first weeks were the hardest. I tried everything I had learned before. Books, grammar exercises, vocabulary lists, but nothing seemed to stick. My mind would forget the words as soon as I tried to use them. I felt like I was running in circles, making no progress, wasting my time and energy. I began questioning myself. Maybe 3 months was too short. Maybe I wasn't cut out for this. But then something clicked. I realized that the old methods weren't failing me, they just weren't enough in a world where technology could change the rules of learning entirely. Instead of relying solely on books and classrooms, I could harness the tools at my fingertips: apps, online courses, AI chatbots, video content, and global communities. Suddenly, the barrier that had always seemed insurmountable began to feel less like a wall and more like a challenge I could tackle with the right strategy.
I started with apps that focused on practical speaking. At first, it felt strange, talking to a program on my phone as if it were a real person. I stumbled over words, mispronounced phrases, and made mistakes that would have embarrassed me in front of anyone else. But the chatbot didn't judge me. It repeated my sentences correctly, offered new phrases, and prompted me to speak again and again. For the first time, I realized that learning didn't have to be humiliating or slow. I could practice endlessly, without fear, until the words began to feel natural. I spent hours talking, listening, repeating, and recording myself. Every interaction built a little more confidence, and little by little, the voice I had been hiding started to emerge. YouTube became my secret teacher. I didn't just watch content, I immersed myself in it. I watched conversations, interviews, debates, and casual vlogs. I paid attention to the way words were spoken, the pauses, the emphasis, the tone, and the rhythm. I would pause, rewind, and repeat entire sentences until they rolled off my tongue with the same ease as the speakers I admired. Sometimes I recorded myself and compared my speech with the original video. The differences were striking at first, and I felt frustrated, but that frustration became fuel. It made me push harder. It made me realize that every mistake was just a step on the path, not a sign that I was failing. The real breakthrough came when I began to engage with people online. I joined global language exchange communities where I could speak with native speakers daily. At first, I was terrified. My sentences were broken, my accent rough, my confidence fragile. But I discovered something extraordinary. People were patient. They laughed with me, not at me. They corrected me gently, offered tips, and shared stories from their lives. I found myself connecting with people across oceans, sharing experiences, jokes, and dreams. Technology had dissolved the barriers of distance and fear, allowing me to practice in ways I had never imagined. I realized that language is not just words, it's connection, and the more I connected, the more English became alive inside me. There were moments of intense struggle. Some days, no matter how much I practiced, my words felt stuck. I wanted to quit. I wanted to retreat back into silence. But then I remembered why I started. I remembered the person I had been, the one who was invisible because she couldn't speak. I remembered the promise I had made to myself, and I reminded myself that progress isn't always linear. Some days are hard, but every effort adds up. Every word spoken, every sentence formed, every conversation held was a brick in the foundation of fluency. AI became a mentor I never knew I needed. Unlike human teachers, it didn't tire, didn't get impatient, and didn't judge. It corrected me instantly, suggested better words, and helped me practice in context. I remember practicing tongue twisters with an AI tool, stumbling and fumbling repeatedly, and the AI kept encouraging me, "Try again, you can do it." That simple, patient encouragement changed my mindset. Learning wasn't about fear or perfection. Learning was about persistence and courage. It was about taking one word, one sentence, one conversation at a time. Technology didn't just teach me English, it taught me resilience. I began to notice subtle changes first. I could understand more in movies and videos without pausing or relying on subtitles. I could read articles and books and actually grasp the meaning without constant dictionary checks. I could participate in online discussions, even if my sentences weren't perfect. Every small success fueled me, making me more confident, more willing to take risks, and more eager to engage. The invisible barrier that had held me back for years was crumbling. I was no longer afraid of mistakes because I realized mistakes were the stepping stones to mastery. By the second month, conversations with native speakers became smoother. I could joke, respond spontaneously, and even express my opinions on complex topics. My vocabulary expanded, my pronunciation improved, and my confidence soared. The more I used English in real life, the more natural it became. I realized that fluency isn't just memorizing words, it's living the language, letting it become a part of who you are. Technology had given me a way to live English every day in every interaction, and it transformed my learning from a tedious task into a dynamic, joyful experience. The final month was exhilarating. I began to feel fluent, not because I had memorized rules, but because I had lived the language. I could think in English. I could dream in English. I could express my ideas without hesitation. My friends noticed the change. People I had only met online complimented me on my progress. I had conversations that once would have terrified me, and I navigated them with confidence and ease. I felt unstoppable. For the first time, I realized that language is not just a tool, it is freedom, and freedom is transformative. The real impact on my life went far beyond language. Suddenly, doors opened that had once been closed. I could explore opportunities that I had only dreamed of. I could engage with people around the world without barriers. I could travel, learn, and share without hesitation. But most importantly, I had found my voice. I could speak fluently, share my dreams, and connect with others authentically. The confidence I gained from speaking English spilled into every aspect of my life, transforming my relationships, my mindset, and my ambitions. Looking back, I understand that technology didn't just teach me English, it gave me courage, persistence, and a sense of possibility. The apps, the videos, the chatbots, and the online communities were not just tools, they were companions, mentors, and mirrors reflecting my growth. They reminded me that learning is not a race, but a journey, and that every step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. I learned that the fear of speaking, the fear of failure, is the greatest barrier we face, and that technology can help us overcome it one conversation at a time. The journey also taught me patience and self-compassion. I learned to embrace mistakes as opportunities, to celebrate small victories, and to push forward even when the path seemed impossible. I learned that the mind is capable of far more than we give it credit for, especially when we leverage the tools at our disposal. 3 months ago, I would have laughed at the idea of speaking English fluently. Today, I speak, I connect, I dream, and I inspire. The impossible became possible, and it all started with a single choice: to act, to practice, to believe. Now, when I look back at those nights of frustration, of self-doubt, of silence, I smile. I see the journey not as a struggle, but as a transformation. I see the power of technology not just as convenience, but as empowerment. I see that with focus, discipline, and the right tools, we can achieve things that once seemed unimaginable. And I know this truth: anyone can do it. Anyone can find their voice. Anyone can break the barriers that hold them back. All it takes is commitment, persistence, and the willingness to embrace the journey. 3 months changed my life. 3 months gave me confidence, freedom, and the ability to connect with the world. 3 months taught me that language is not just words, it is a bridge to possibility, a bridge to dreams, and a bridge to yourself. Technology gave me the tools, but my determination gave me the wings to fly. Today, I speak not just English, but courage, resilience, and hope. And the most important lesson I carry forward is this: the power to change your life is within you, waiting to be unlocked. Sometimes, all it takes is a choice and the willingness to take the first step. I learned English in 3 months, but what I really learned was something far greater: the truth that no barrier is permanent, no dream is too distant, and no voice is ever too quiet to be heard. All it takes is belief, action, and the relentless pursuit of growth. And now, my voice, once trapped in fear, is free. Free to speak, to dream, and to inspire. And so can yours.